Hi, my name is Ivo Verbeek. I'm the co-founder and director of Peerwith. Peerwith is a peer-to-peer marketplace for research services. We offer services pre-submission to authors of scientific papers. These services are offered by experts on the marketplace. We're proud to partner with World Sci Publ from Russia to offer the same services to authors from CIS countries. Russian universities reward researchers for special achievements, and publications in international journals are such achievements. Unfortunately, many researchers turn to so-called predatory publishers. These predatory publishers, they don't do peer review. They just publish your paper, but in bad journals. This will eventually hurt your career. So watch out for predatory publishers. And with the help of World Sci Publ and Peerwith, you can also get published in genuine, reputable international journals. We offer our so-called premium publication support package exclusively with World Sci Publ in CIS countries. This service package includes services like manuscript review, literature search, editing, and finally submission service. Now let's take a look and talk with a couple of experts that offer their services.
Okay.
Well, hello. So we're speaking to Bassem Essam. Welcome, Bassem. So you're an expert active on Peerwith. Yeah, well, I'm curious. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, Mr. Ivo. Thank you for introducing me. I'm Bassem Assam from Egypt. Yes, I have been working with Peerwith for about 4 or 5 years now. Yeah, mostly I introduce services like literature search, and I published several manuscripts and several articles in Q1 and Q2 journals, especially in social sciences. You can, audience can watch them or view them all listed on my expert page on Peerwith. Yes, I enjoy helping every career researcher like advance their knowledge and polish the manuscripts, the quality of the manuscript that they are writing, and do some effective literature search.
Okay. Can you explain to us, because in the partnership with World Sci Publ, you're providing a literature search service. What does it include?
Well, literature search service is something that we never do without it, or something we always need. So literature search is not literature review. It's a search, a type of algorithmic search or type of searching for previous work and underpinning literature to know which is most cited article, the significant work that you can't miss or article must have, and the most relevant article and most recent advances in the field that you are covering or study and your study addressing. So literature search is useful for literature review, of course, but is it only confined to literature review? No, the answer is no. Literature search is helpful also in just making an argument, especially in discussion. So in discussion part in any paper, you would like to know who is with and who is against. This wouldn't be available or can be easy task unless you conduct a very effective literature search. And even for formulating a hypothesis. Imagine that you formulate a hypothesis for a study. You must have some extensive knowledge of the findings, the previous work reported. So to formulate hypotheses and to draw a conceptual model, it can't be done without adequate literature search.
And isn't that something that an author will do or has to do themselves? So why do they hire an expert like you for that service?
Actually, it's the author's homework to do. Yeah, at some point they must do this. They must do this themselves. But for early career researcher, it's more or less difficult to imagine that they are well versed in the field they are covering. And imagine that, yeah, they are writing their MA or even PhD. They haven't even obtained their PhD degree. So their knowledge, they must be knowledgeable about the field or the study they're covering, but their knowledge about the most cited and most influential work and even most recent work is not extensive. So they need to hire some expert at even at the very early stage of research to just to be like an eye opener for them. Actually, it's a task that never expires because even experienced authors and reviewers do this task because literature search as K is somehow a daily exercise. Even reviewer, if I'm invited to review a manuscript, okay, I must have read everything about the theoretical background of this manuscript, but I haven't read every article published about it. So even reviewers do their homework to do adequate literature search before trying their hands at reviewing a manuscript. So yes, the answer to your question is yes. All authors must do themselves someday, but not at the very beginning. At the very beginning, it is advocate that it is most likely authors are encouraged to hire some experts to help them and to tutor them how to do adequate literature search, especially when they are targeting some journal. Actually, they must be familiar with the topics and even the methodological approaches that this journal approaches or introduces to the readership, to its readership. So they must just read one or cite one or two articles published by this target journal so that the reader feel familiar with the newly introduced topic or article. The most important thing to mention about literature search is where to search, because early career researchers find articles on ResearchGate, on Google Scholar, on Crossref. Actually, this is an area that authors who are willing to get international recognition, they shouldn't visit these platforms. Actually, this is for beginners, but to publish a high quality manuscripts, oh, please don't go there. You should visit only Scopus and Web of Science and PubMed and all these golden databases. But if you use Google Scholar, you are exposed to a great risk of citing some fake journals. And this is something we call a contaminated citation. A contaminated citation is citing fake journals which these journals do not hire qualified reviewers and publish any quality of manuscripts. And this is one smudge at the reference list of each manuscript that can get it rejected. So reviewers make sure that the cited references are not contaminated. And this is another thing that literature search or adequate literature search offers for authors.
Great. Well, thank you. Thanks for the introduction and good to know you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Eber.
Well, hi, Curtis. Nice to meet you. Good to have you here. So you are an expert active on Peerwith, working on the World Sci Publ project. Can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Dr. Curtis Stumpf. I have a PhD in microbiology. I live in the United States. I started freelance editing after I received my graduate degree and really enjoyed working with authors, especially those in the scientific field and who are trying to get published. I enjoy reading science. I enjoy editing. And I thought that I could help them achieve their goals. And so I started to do that in the early part of 2011. I've been doing it for 10 years. And I've actually helped publish about 1,500 articles over that time frame. So I have a lot of experience with helping editors get published and editing their papers for for publication. So in 2018, I decided to start my own business, and I started Evolution Editing, which is the company that I own and I run. And that service is available to give people an opportunity to come back to the same place time and time again. So they know that if they come to Evolution Editing through Peerwith or through another platform, they can have they can be guaranteed a quality product at the end of their editing process.
Okay. And so we're providing the whole publication support package. Your part is editing, but I would say that's the most important element in there. Can you please explain a bit more what that is and why it's important?
Sure. So whenever you have a scientific manuscript or a social science manuscript or any type of publication that you're trying to get published or to achieve in the market, you often put a lot of work into that publication. But it's important that work is clean and can be read clearly. Oftentimes, these reviewers or people that are looking to publish your work, the first thing you're going to do is read through, and if it's awkward or it's not clear, or there's grammatical errors or any type of other errors that make it difficult for them to understand, it's never going to make it past the initial review process. And so editing is extremely important so that you can have somebody look at your work, make sure that it reads clearly, that the concepts are clear, that the ideas are clear, and that they can then take that on to the next step of actual review to make sure that it achieves the goal of what the article is. So without editing, without being a clear, concise message and cleanly written, you're never going to get past the initial review process.
That's clear. And what type of editing are we talking about? Because you have copy editing, language editing, scientific editing. So what type of services do you provide?
Sure. So I usually break down editing into three major categories, and that would be the most simplistic is just a polishing effort, and it's not even language editing. It's simply looking through a really well-written paper and just making sure that all the punctuation is correct, that it's not awkward in any way, or the phrasing is clear. That's a very simplistic editing process. It's usually minor details being adjusted. The next level is a little bit more advanced, and that's language editing. That is more adjusting sentences, and there's much more error in the writing process. So there's more editing that takes place. So that this is the kind of the next level after polishing. Language editing is still not necessarily adjusting paragraphs or restructuring. It's just simply going through and making sure that it reads clearly so that the concepts are clean. The next level would be more of a copy editing, and this is pretty typical when you need to be associated with a specific journal. You want to be formatted. It needs to be restructured. There may be paragraphs that are completely taken out or moved into a different area within the manuscript. And so it is the next level. It includes language editing, includes polishing, but it also includes a lot of formatting and other adjustments. And then there's really one other level, and that is the review or scientific editing process, peer review. That would be someone who is a subject matter expert. They're able to tell you whether your research is sound. They're able to tell you whether your statistics or other aspects are really where they need to be. And they're also they're preparing the manuscript for peer review, and so that's a little bit different, and it's more scientific. So really polishing, language editing, and then copy editing in that kind of order of importance.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Very useful. Thank you for talking to us. Okay. Hi, Jim. So welcome. You are an expert active on Peerwith, which is great. So you're also working in the World Sci Publ partnership. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you. Well, my name's Jim Bowden. I've been working in academic publishing for 25 years now. I started a company called Charlesworth. I began in proofreading, copy editing. I moved on to manage a team of 20 outsourced copy editors working for high prestige journals for Elsevier, Wiley, Blackwell. And after a few years, I moved to a company called Emerald, where I carried on that role, copy editing and proofreading, and then gradually progressed to working with authors and with editors to help define what makes a quality paper. I ran something called the Literati Awards, which is working in combination with journal editors, we would set specific criteria and definitions for what makes a good paper, what makes a paper with impact, well, just basically what makes a good paper, gives a paper with high impact, and how you can judge these things and how authors can write good papers. And I've now been working as a freelance copy editor for the last 4 years, working primarily on Peerwith. I've done nearly 400 papers now on the site, and my average rating out of 5 is 4.98. So I like to think I'm doing a good job.
I think so too.
The reason I like the Peerwith platform is that I can have one-to-one discussions with the authors, which you can't get on any other platform, and that's what helps me do a good job. I can talk to them directly, they can talk to me, we can have a proper discussion on what they really need.
And in this project, so in the partnership with World Sci Publ, you're providing a submission service. Can you tell a bit what that includes?
Yes, the submission service is something that I've offered to authors when I've been doing copy editing work for them for many years, and it's based on my knowledge and experience of working with journal editors to define what makes a good paper. It involves me taking a paper, reading it, assessing it, seeing which journals it may be best suited for, which is actually quite a tricky process. It's not something that all authors are particularly good at. I mean, I know for a fact from my experience in publishing that the majority of papers are rejected by journals simply because they're not within the scope of the journal. So I look at things like the word length, whether it's qualitative or quantitative, a whole number of different factors to try and then decide what would be the best journal, including the appropriateness of the impact factor and how high that should be. And I then contact editors of those journals for initial feedback on the potential suitability of that paper for that journal. You have to be very careful when talking to journal editors. You have to make sure, you have to stress that you're not contacting lots of editors at once. But if you do it carefully and correctly, you can eventually get really good feedback from journal editors about whether this paper is suitable for this journal or another journal. And finding whether the paper is in scope for a particular journal really, really increases your chances of publication. It's very easy as an author to submit your paper to one journal after another, and you have to format the paper for a different journal's requirements every time. You're wasting time, you're wasting money. Get that part first right, and you're really increasing your chances of publication.
Does that also include copy editing?
Yes, absolutely. The entire process covers everything. It covers the submission service covers, first of all, finding the appropriate journal, the best suited journal for your paper. And once that's been found, it then covers full language editing and copy editing of the paper. So some authors don't even know what that means. Language editing just means getting the language right, correcting the English, making sure it makes sense and it's academic. Copy editing refers very specifically to making sure that the paper meets all the journal's specific requirements, formatting requirements, language requirements, word length, how the references should be set out, everything, so that basically you end up with a paper that is ready to submit and meets all the criteria for the target journal.
Great. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
So that's it. That were a couple of the experts active on Peerwith that can help you get published. We can pave the way until peer review. Peer review is the essence of scientific publishing, so we can't control that, but we can help you improve your paper to improve the chance of getting accepted by peer review. We also think you should stay away from predatory publishers where there is no peer review, which might sound attractive, but in the end it will hurt your career. That's it. Thank you and we hope that we'll see you through our partnership with World Sci Publ.